Do you feel like your faith, family, and business are spinning on separate wheels? If you are, you're not alone. And I want you to meet John, a high-achieving Christian business professional who is facing the challenges of balancing his faith, his family, and his business. And as 2024 opens up for him, he wants to make a difference. He wants to make a change. He really wants to align his faith, family, and business as you possibly do as well. Now, John is a fictitious character, but he represents a true story. Now, John is dealing with the stress of juggling his 9-to-5 job while he is trying to establish his side business. And he's also experiencing the challenges of a strained relationship at home with his wife, Sarah. And this strained relationship has come about, as you can just imagine, because he is so wanting to succeed at what he does. He's doing great in his 9-to-5 job, but he wants to succeed at where he thinks is most important, and that is his side business, because he sees that as a path forward for his family financially. Right? But he's also feeling a strained relationship with God. I mean, he's feeling as if that relationship is not going as it should. Not just is he feeling that, he knows that. John, if you ask him, he will look away from you because he knows that it's not where it's supposed to be, his relationship with God. And maybe you are feeling something very similar, right? I love this scripture in Proverbs 16, verse 3, where it says, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he, God, will establish your plans." And John is feeling like he did that. And so he's also feeling frustration with God because he feels like he's committed to the Lord whatever he's planning for and praying for and expecting for, but he hasn't seen that become a reality yet. And John is feeling this pressure because he's invested quite a bit of money in coaching, courses, other programs, and not to mention the ongoing monthly subscriptions he have to pay for because of the things that he needs for his business that he's creating online. So a lot of things goes into play, and John is feeling the financial pressure, where more money is going out than is coming in from his business online is not actually creating or producing an income. So the money that's coming in is from his work. And so it feels as if there's not enough to go around. So John is feeling the pressure, right? Again, the strained relationship with his wife, Sarah, a strained relationship with God, the financial pressure and the burden. And John, the last thing he wants to do is to fail at what he's attempting, because he has promised in so many ways his wife that this is going to work. She has come alongside and supported year after year, but haven't really seen much. And so she's not really saying much, but John is feeling the pressure. He feels like he needs to come through. And what a better time for him than now as he begins 2024 to make this the year that he really step up. But yet these things are hanging over his head. You see, I've been in John's shoes in many ways, trying to balance a 9-to-5 job when I was in a 9-to-5 with my online business that I'm, this aspiring entrepreneur, aspiring online content creator, course creator, and so on. And the struggle, it's real, because I also felt similar things that John is feeling. Because yes, my relationships with God and my family, it wasn't where I wanted it to be. And there I felt the tension. I felt the frustration, and I felt the resentment. I felt all of those emotions. And so I too had an uncertainty about my path forward. And so, what I realized that one of the things I needed, and it really played a huge role in why I felt like things were spinning for me, was because I really wasn't fully clear on my path forward. I had an idea what I wanted to do. I knew If you were to kind of zoom out, I have a clear idea of where I want to go. I wanted to make money. Bottom line, I wanted my business to become very successful, very a high income producing business. I saw it. I saw it through the lens of all the people that I worked with, that, my coaches, my other members of the coaching groups, other small groups I was involved in, masterminds. I saw it through those lens. I saw what was possible, and I felt it, and I see where I too could be able to do the very things those individuals were doing, and why not? Why not? I was educated. I had, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, so I have my own private practice now. But that's that's the idea of a brick and mortar business, right? So it's not really an online thing. It's one-to-one, and I know if I don't show up, I don't make money. So I really was working hard on making the one-to-many. And John is feeling that very same thing. So I identify with what John is experiencing. But I think what was missing for me, and what I think is missing for John, was clarity. Do I know clearly where I am, my point A? And do I know clearly where I want to go, my point B? Let me ask you this question. Do you know your point A very clearly where you are? So, well, Kim, of course I know where I am. Like John, I have a strained relationship with my family, my wife, and my children. I'm frustrated. I am really losing sleep. I am becoming very stressed by where I am. So, okay, it sounds like, I give you that. It sounds like you're clear on your point A. But do you know what your point B is? Not in a general form. Not in I want to make money. That's very generic. Do you know specifically when you get to your point B, you know you're there? Well, if you do, I'm glad you do. Okay, so you're a better person than I am, a better husband, a better man than I am. I really didn't have the clarity. I mean, I knew pretty much where I was. I knew what I felt. I knew what was missing. I knew what I wanted. So I knew what my point A was. And I knew where, when I get to my point B, what that should look like. But how do I get there? But you see, it's not just me getting there. It's how do I take people? How do I use this idea of, because this is where, I could get there myself, but that's not the whole point of a business. A point of a business is to make money, right? And so if I'm going to set this business up, I need to know clearly how to take a person from their point A, which may be pretty much like mine, to their point B. And I thought I had a clear idea. And I really felt short. I fell short there. It's like a pilot, right? A pilot who needs to go from one city to another city. He or she needs have a very clear idea of where they're leaving from, the city, and a very clear idea of their destination. When they have two things in place, they're able to plot the coordinates to make sure they're going to get to point B when they land, and not drift off to some other place, right? They need to make sure they stay clear of areas in the skies where they're not supposed to fly, right? They have to map those things out very clearly, very specifically. My question to you is this, and my question would be to John, is have you mapped out clearly how to get from your point A to point B? I mean, specific steps. What will that look like? Who will be involved? How will you establish or execute on that plan? How long will it take? What are the things that will be necessary to get you to point B? And that's where I struggled. So I feel that John himself is at that point. So I can feel John's frustration. I can feel his stress. I can feel all those things because I too had a similar feelings, right? So what we're going to do today is explore how John, like you, like me, can find purpose and alignment. See, this is very important because John, if he even was working and wasn't clear so much, but if he felt like he was in alignment with his faith, with his family, and with business, right? I believe that he could actually be more relaxed and feel more peaceful and less anxious because he knows that he was showing up And I would say, let's put the word equal, because it's not going to be equal measurement per se, but he would feel like he's, showing up, being there for his wife and his children, being there for his relationship with God, and really spending time with God in prayer, and, church attendance, and leading his family for spiritual leadership. He would feel like he's really balanced in those areas. And he's thinking, well, how can I do that now that 2024 is here? And maybe you are also there yourself as 2024 rolls around. You're wondering, what will be different this year? My friend, I know one thing. Nothing changes. And you know this like I do, that the definition of insanity is doing the same things like you've always done and expect to get a different result. That's insanity. So where do we go from here? And we're going to do that right after this.
So the big question is this: how is it possible that you have a happier marriage when you feel like you've tried everything? Your spouse isn't making an effort. You're exhausted. You feel like giving up. Or there's so much hurt that's taken place between you and your spouse. That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers.
So John, like I mentioned earlier, is seeking to have alignment, right? He's seeking alignment in his life. But I find that one thing that it must be true for John, and it must be true for you, and it had to be true for me, is this word clarity. Clarity is paramount to where we want to go. I shared in a recent podcast and my YouTube channel about going to a conference at the end of 2023. And I remember that as I was attending the conference, there was another person who is in a group with me, and we were talking about this conference we were going to attend along with a number of other people. Several hundred people were going to be there in this conference in California. And I asked her this question. I said to her, what's that one thing you want to get or take away from the conference? And I said to her, well, I can't remember what she said, but I knew what I said. I remember exactly what I said. I said to her, I want to get one thing from this conference, and that is clarity. Clarity meaning in not just what I'm doing, is how do I get people from point A, their pain point, to their transformation point B, right? From pain to transformation. How do I get them there? That's clarity. But that's not all. I need to have a clarity in my messaging. How do I message to people that this is the path they need to take? How do I share that in a very subtle way, not in a kind of, in your face or just salesy way, none of that, but in a way. And I remember one of the things that our leader, our coach, who the host of this conference, which he did also there, but also on a conference call, a coaching call, he talks about the importance of messaging. Because again, if you know where you're going, you are going to be talking about that in a way where when people hear that, they get a clear picture of what side you're on, where you're going, how you're going to get there, and so on. When I talk to people who are very, I call them fanatics, right? Fans of any sporting team, you don't need to guess what team they're supporting. You don't have to guess what team or who they're going to be cheering for in a game by listening to them. They're messaging about their team, about the players, about the execution, about why they think their team is going to win. That's all messaging, right? It's really them messaging, and you are very clear that they know something about their team and about what their team needs to do to win the game. The question is, how do you know that? Do you know that message so clearly about what you need to do to get to where you want to go? If I had a conversation with you, would I hear without you telling me, because of the messaging that keeps coming forth, this is where you're headed? That's the missing part for me. The clarity around my messaging, So again, going back to what I said earlier, I think when I argue for point A and point B, so let's establish that we do know what point A is, our pain. We do know what point B, transformation, should look like. The question is, how do we message that to others to say, hey, we have the path, we have the answer, we have the solution. We can get you there. Isn't that what business is all about? So if you're going to be this high-achieving Christian business professional husband, and you're going to align your faith and your family and your business, right, to have financial security for your business for the future, then this is so important. And so one of the things I have recognized is we need to have community, because as I described, I found my clarity and my messaging through a community. As I attended this event, this conference, and as I listened to the coaching call and began to surround myself with other like-minded people who are also seeking out these questions, these answers, I recognized the importance, even though I knew this, but again, what really clicked for me was the conference, the networking, the community aspect, right? The community aspect, because not only was the coach, as he shared in the group, but as other people asked questions and had answers and suggestions, I also picked up things from that. There's a power of that networking community, right? As you know that very well. So what it is, I realized, okay, what does John need? What could be helpful to John? So not only the clarity and the messaging, I believe John needs a community, because sometimes you feel like you're by yourself, right? You feel like there's nobody else who understands. And truly, the people that, for the most part, your family and friends may have no idea. They probably don't really, they may not care, or they just, it's like a foreign language you're speaking to them. So don't blame them for that, because they're not on the same, wavelength or frequency like you are. So that's how it should look. But you need to be around other people who are in the same wavelength, the same frequency. And so I gave thought about this. And so at the end of 2023, I thought about, how can I create this community? What would that look like? And so what came to my mind was this idea of Strong Husband Brotherhood. Strong Husband Brotherhood. But let me just tell you what it means. Strong Husband Brotherhood is this mission that I want to use to help individuals like John, or maybe like you, align faith, family, and business where all three thrives together, right? All three thrives together. None should be left behind. There should be a feelings of equal distribution. And that's why I created the Strong Husband Brotherhood. Is a community where faith fuels ambition, family anchors purpose, and business builds legacy. That is what it's all about. So if you ask me, what is the Strong Husband Brotherhood? I would say, is this is a community where you're going to find faith fuels your ambition, right? It's all anchored in your faith. You're also going to find where family, it anchors your purpose. So faith fuels ambition, family anchors your purpose, right? Because that is a very important aspect of all that we're doing is family, right? And when your business builds legacy, you're going to use your business to build the legacy that you want to leave behind. And so the significance of faith is very primary, is very paramount to the brotherhood, right? Because I believe that we are going to make sure that what Jesus taught, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you, is what really is the crux of the matter, where faith fuels our ambition. Faith is where we are going to put biblical principles into play in every aspect of our being, right? So John is a man of faith, right? He's a man of faith, and he feels called to be the leader in his home, and that's where he feels like he's falling short. And so that's why the brotherhood is going to be able to challenge and motivate and inspire, right? Because that's what John needs at this point, right? And so, because our faith is what guides us into become strong leaders in our families. And John will feel as if he is fulfilling the scriptural direction about how to respond to his wife. The Bible says in Ephesians 5, husband, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. He made many sacrifices. And so that's what John, he wants that to be a part of his life, right? But John he's still facing the challenge of feeling like he's carrying everything alone. Now, however, the saying, as you know, the saying says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And John needs the together. He needs the community. He needs other brothers who can come alongside him and help him to get to to go farther than he's ever gotten. And that's why maybe he's still struggling. And as I mentioned before, that's why the Strong Husband Brotherhood is here to provide encouragement, to challenge, to provide coaching and inspiration. And these are the things that John, as I've just stated, John needs in his life. We all need a supportive community, right? We all need that. I explained my need for that. And John, like many of us, needs a space where he can share his struggles, receive encouragement, and find inspiration, right? He needs that space. And the Strong Husband Brotherhood aims to be that space. It aims to be that space. You know, I love the scripture, and I know this is taken out of context, but the principle is applicable here, right? So in Hebrews 10, verse 25, the New Living Translation says, and let us not neglect our meeting together as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return, of Jesus' return, is drawing near, right? So the Bible says we should not neglect or forsake the assembling, the meeting together, as some people do, because that's where we're going to find the encouragement we need. And the urgency that is placed upon this verse, it says, especially now that the day of his meaning Jesus' return, is drawing near. So the closer we get to the return of Jesus, we need to then have this community to support, to encourage, to nudge, to one another, right? To basically nudge one another onto, the Bible said in another place, unto good works. So this is important. This is important. Again, I know this is about the church and meeting together as people of God, but where's the church? Could not the Strong Husband Brotherhood serve as a community like the church does? Of course it could. A church is not a building, right? It's just a place that we gather. So we could meet virtually, and that could be like a church, right? So that is one of the things I want to kind of put out there and really push towards this brotherhood for you and for me to come together and be a part of this community. Now, if you resonate with John's journey, if you're seeking alignment in your faith, family, and business, I want you to consider joining the Strong Husband Brotherhood. Okay? So you can reach out through my DMs, my direct messages on Instagram or Facebook, and let's make 2024 a year of purpose, a year of faith and thriving families, right? Because finding your purpose is about clarity, it's about faith, and it's about building a supportive community. So I want us to embark on this journey together in 2024, aligning our lives for a purposeful and thriving year, right? So here's to a year of clarity. So it's almost like me raising my glass towards you now. Here's to a year of clarity, alignment, and thriving families. Stay strong, stay connected, and stay aligned with your true purpose. Thank you for joining me today. Okay, remember to direct message me at Kingsley Grant on Instagram or Facebook for more information on the Strong Husband Brotherhood. And remember, your purpose awaits when you align your faith and family and business. My friend, the journey begins with a single step. Let's take that step together. So stay tuned for more episodes like this as 2024 unfolds, and let's make 2024 the year of alignment and purpose. With that said, my friend, may God bless you, and may we together leave a legacy, a lasting legacy, by aligning faith, family, and business. God bless, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Happier Marriage Podcast.